Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Can I have a mover and a seconder to call the meeting to order? Councillor Ritchie, Deputy Mayor Coughlin, that the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Springwater on April 15th, 2020 come to order at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? Councillor Hanna, Councillor Moore,
Yes.
Councillor Cabral,
Yes.
Councillor Chapman.
Yes.
Thank you. Due to COVID-19, for those who are streaming and looking at this online, Council is taking the necessary steps to limit the in-person meetings. As such, some members of Council will be participating in the meeting electronically. We have 4 councillors doing that. The meeting is being live streamed. As the Administration Centre is closed to the public, residents are provided with the following options to watch or listen to the Council meeting. They can watch the meeting live on the Township website at www.springwater.ca. They can listen to the meeting from a telephone or a cellular device by calling 1-647-558-0588 and using the following ID 579-373-886 with the pound sign at the end. And the option will only be available for the duration of the meeting. Those unable to watch the live stream are encouraged to review the meeting at their convenience by watching the video on the Township's YouTube website. Before we start, are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest, Council? Councillor Ritchie?
The notice of motion from Councillor Moore, I'll be stepping back from that.
And the reason for that, Councillor Ritchie?
My wife works there.
Thank you. Any other disclosures? Okay, next we have question period, and Clerk Ainsworth, did we have any questions?
No questions were submitted by members of the public.
Yes, we had the opportunity. Members of the public were invited to ask questions of Council or make comments, and to accommodate question period, the questions were able to be submitted by email to the clerk, and we did not receive any. So next we move on to 5.1, Minutes of Council. Can I have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes? Deputy Mayor Coughlin, Councillor Ritchie. Any comments with respect to these minutes, 1 and 2, councillors? Okay. That the motion is that the minutes of Council listed herein be approved as presented. The minutes of the regular meeting of Council on March 18, 2020, and the minutes of the special meeting of Council on March 25th, 2020. All those in favor? Councillor Chapman?
Yes.
Councillor Cabral?
Yes.
Councillor Moore?
Yes.
Councillor Hanna?
Yes.
Thank you. There's no correspondence and information items at item 6, so we move to item 7, action report 7.1. There are 4 action reports, 7.2, 3, 4, and 5. Would anybody like to pull these or ask questions with respect to these?
If I may, Mayor, on 7.2, the award for the pedestrian Hillsdale and the one in Elmville, if staff could just provide a little bit of an explanation of what's taking place there. I tried to explain it to a resident, and I hope I did it correctly, but if staff could provide a little bit of information, I'd appreciate it.
All right, Councillor Hanna, I will turn that over to Director Coleman, please.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Through you to Councillor Hanna. The award for this is for the design of the signalization. So it will involve the civil works associated with that. The consultant will come up with a design. As you're aware, in the Elmvale one, they will locate the existing duct and create a design there, create the design for signal timings, and then from there we will tender it for a contractor to do the actual physical works.
Thank you. Am I correct in believing that there's consideration to moving what currently exists in Hillsdale, taking it from Hillsdale and moving it to Elmville? Is that correct?
Director Coleman?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Through you to Councillor Hannah. Unfortunately, the MTO owns what exists on Highway 93, and they want it returned to the yard in Midhurst, which is on County Road 27. So we will have to purchase new infrastructure for Elmville.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, I'll read the items. 7.2 is the award for engineering services for detailed design, contract preparation, and design support for the intersection pedestrian signals and pedestrian crossing signal. 7.3 is the award of catch basin and ditch inlet cleaning services. 7.4 is the award for consultant for water and wastewater capacity studies, and 7.5 is the award for roadside tractor. All those in favor?
Mayor Allen, mover and
Excuse
seconder,
me.
please.
Mayor Allen?
I think we did get a mover and seconder for that, did we not?
Sorry, Mayor Allen, I did have a question on 7.5.
Okay, 1 second, 1 second, Councillor Cabral. Did we?
you.
Okay, well, mover Deputy Mayor Coughlin and Councillor Ritchie. Councillor Cabral, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if we could get a better idea of the breakdown for the tractor. I just kind of noticed it was significantly over budget, and I'm just wondering if that is due to the flail head, the boom, or did those items come in at the correct amount?
Okay, Director Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Through you to Councillor Cabral. I don't have it in front of me, but as I recall, it was actually the tractor body itself that was higher than what we had expected. I'm not sure the reason why. We did reach out to suppliers last fall and use the numbers they supplied, but it seems like the tractor body is higher than what we expected.
Follow up?
Follow on.
Would it be fair to say then, Director Coleman, that the boom equipment, that those two pieces, they came in at the correct amount then?
Director Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Through you to Councillor Cabral. Yes, that would be correct. The attachments seemed to be at the price that we had budgeted for, but the body itself was not.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Ritchie.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Just to, whatever information Director Coleman sends to Councillor Cabral, could you send that to me too? Because I was curious about that as well too. So please and thank you.
Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Councillor Hannah?
Yes?
Councillor Moore?
Yes.
Councillor Cabral?
Yes.
Councillor Chapman?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have information items, 2 information items. Can I have a mover and seconder to get these on the floor? Councillor Ritchie, Deputy Mayor Coughlin. We have the Mill Street and Patterson Street awards. Any questions with respect to these? Okay, all those, the motion is that the report items listed herein be received as information, the notice of award, engineering services and contract preparation for Mill Street West, and the notice of award for engineering services and contract preparation for Patterson Street. All those in favor? Councillor Chapman?
Yes.
Councillor Cabral?
Yes.
Councillor Moore?
Yes.
Councillor Hannah?
Yes?
Thank you. Verbal reports. We go to county updates, and Deputy Mayor Coughlin, can you give us that, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Allen, and through yourself. Our county council meeting yesterday was our first online, and it went extremely well. It was a 5-hour meeting, and considering there was 32 plus members, the system went really well. Locally, the Elms project has been ratified by county council, so that was good news. Aside from that, I have nothing else to report.
Thank you.
Question?
Yes, Councillor Hannah?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to the Deputy Mayor. Is the county making any considerations about reducing garbage pickup? I've been asked that question because I guess some municipalities have suggested that may happen. Maybe it's only the City of Toronto, I don't know. but is Simcoe County entertaining that at all?
There's been no discussion of reducing garbage. As you know, pickup, as you know, there was a significant change in it about a month ago, and the report has been that that is working well. That change being alternating the recycled blue boxes with garbage and then organics being collected every week. So they're caught up in maintaining the schedule, and so there'll be no further reduction from that collection. The collection that's been happening for the last month will be the ongoing method of collection. Does that answer your question?
Well, thank you, but I was suggesting because of the pandemic that's going on, I just wanted to make sure that whether or not there was any suggestion. I'm not suggesting they should be reducing, I was just wanting to have the right information, so thank you.
What they are, and what has been published is a request for extra caution about, for instance, throwing Kleenexes and tissues, because they're very concerned about potential transmission to the collectors. So if you have any of those, make sure they're bagged in the compost bags, because they can go in the green bin, but there's no reduction. Things are running relatively smoothly. Councillor Cabral?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. On that point, actually, today in the news, down in the GTA area, one of the larger municipalities has actually taken it upon themselves to increase the garbage pickup. And the reasoning behind that is they felt that so many people now are staying home for, well, we're all pretty much shut in, that they're actually generating more garbage than they normally would have. So I'm just wondering if that might be able to be conveyed back to the county, just so they can maybe see whether or not it's something that they should be looking at. It's just, like I say, I heard it. I can't say whether it was Mississauga or whether it was Brampton. I think it was Mississauga's Mayor Crombie who mentioned that this afternoon. So,
Yes. Certainly, there has been discussion and consideration. There have not been complaints about the pickup. Things, as I say, are running smoothly compared to what's been happening over the last couple of years at different times. So I see CAO Schmidt has something to add. CAO Schmidt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And further to that, so to Councillor Cabral's comments, it has actually been a discussion, Councillor Cabral, around the table with their CAOs. And I believe it might have been Bradford West Gwillimbury that brought the comment to the CAO group, seeking some additional support, if you will, from the county. And I guess at the time, the conversation was that the county had now opened up 4 of their landfills, which they had previously closed, and they had closed because some of the individuals, I guess, that were in quarantine or self-isolating were actually cleaning up around their house, but also attending to the landfills and indicating to staff that they were in quarantine, which obviously led to some concerns from the county and hence the closure, the temporary closure of some of those sites. But since then, they've opened 4, I believe, and unfortunately, I don't think that they're contemplating increasing any limits at this stage, although with that said, the comment made to us is that they've been advised to be flexible during this time. So hopefully, you know, if you put 2.5 or 3 bags out, they're not going to be penalized, but at this stage, I don't believe the township specifically has received any complaints, although I know Public Works has indicated that some of our staff in Public Works have been required to pick up a little bit more or significantly more roadside garbage, which I've had some conversations with our neighbors to the south, but at this time they haven't activated opening their landfill site within their city boundaries. So.
I'd also add to that the county accelerated their leaf and brush collection pickup. So that started this week, subject to the rather snowy weather we've been having. But I see bags out, so people, the landfill sites that CAO Schmidt referred to, plus the leaf and yard waste collection pickup being accelerated is trying to help out, given the fact that people are doing that earlier this year. Any other comment? Okay, other municipal updates? CEO Schmidt, did you?
Thank you, Mr.
I have one if you want me to go now, Mayor.
Okay, you go ahead first, Councillor Hannah.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut anybody off, but it's hard to tell from my angle who's up. So if I'm up, I welcome the opportunity to go ahead. I just wanted to say, it would really bother me tonight not to say that I appreciate staff's effort, especially making these electronic meetings we're having right now work as well as they are, and especially our IT Mike there, he's done a great job. So I just wanted to mention that. I also, because they're working so well, if it would facilitate staff, I think that I would definitely support having at least one meeting a week so we could get more things on the agenda that staff needs answers to, and I'm just throwing that out as a consideration. But I also want to make a note the fact that the Midhurst Soapbox Derby has been canceled, and whether Autumn Fest will take place this year or not has not been determined. So thank you.
Thank you. CEO Schmidt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just wanted to provide members of council and the public a brief update on COVID as it relates to the township specifically. So obviously we continue to monitor the situation on a daily basis and listen for updates from our federal, provincial, and local public health directives and officials. Our community control group within the municipality continues to meet regularly to review the current situation and to make decisions that are directly related to the township. We continue to provide regular updates to members of the council. So from a staffing perspective, all contractual, casual, and seasonal staff have now been either let go or laid off, and or their contracts have not been extended. As it relates to permanent full-time staff, essentially some are working remotely and others are on rotating shifts. So most of the individuals on our outdoor staff are rotating shifts to provide for proper physical distancing. Staff have recently been requested to take 1 or 2 days per pay period from their accrued bank time, so sick, leave, or vacation. And should they not have time available, they are required to take an unpaid day. And further to this, senior staff have been requested to review their 2020 operating and capital budgets with the intent of identifying any potential cost savings, as well as to provide an overall fiscal impact to the municipality or what the impact to the municipality is to date. We're actually looking at a couple different scenarios there to date to the end of June, to the end of September, and potentially, if this happens, till the end of to the end of the year. So we're doing a couple of forecasts there, and those will be forthcoming. And so we are taking this all into consideration and hope to have an update within the next week or so to members of council. So I'll provide that, and if any members of council have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any at this time.
Okay. Any other municipal updates? Deputy Mayor Conlon?
Thank you, Marilyn, and just wanted to let everyone know that there was a community initiative in Anton Mills whereby the community came together to do a food bank drive, and I'm being told that it was 558 pounds of food and $170 in donations, monetary donations to the Elmvale Food Bank. So well done, Anton Mills.
Good. Excellent. Councillor Cabral?
Yes, I just wanted to make mention that there's been some activity in Elmvale, trying to promote safety, trying to make people stay positive. One of our businesses in town took it upon themselves to dress up as a gorilla and walk through Elmvale with some positive signs about staying safe. That was last week. And this past Sunday, Easter Sunday, we had, I counted them, probably 37 or 38 large tractors come into town to recognize the healthcare workers at Sarah Vista. They passed by there twice, and there were people on scene. Social distancing was certainly adhered to. Most people stayed in their cars, and then they passed through Elmvale, but it was a very positive message. They had some nice signs on the tractors recognizing our health workers and our frontline workers and, you know, the folks that are keeping the stores running. So that was kind of nice, and I think CKVR might have even ran a piece. And I do have one question with respect to garbage tags. I know that people can get them through the township. I had a business inquire about it. How would they go about doing that now if there might be an answer for that since the administrators closed?
I believe there's a contact number at the county, but CEO Schmidt, do you have any idea with respect to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good question, Councillor Cabral. That's something I definitely would have to take a look into and get back to you on that. I'm not sure how we're arranging for that, to be honest with you, at this stage, unless, I'm not sure if Kirk Ainsworth is aware of anything, but I'd have to get back to you, I think, on that.
Okay, that would be fine. I'd really appreciate it, only because I know that I think these are the ones for resale at the businesses, the retailers. So if you could do that, I'd really appreciate it so I could pass that information on as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Chapman?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Allen. I also want to say that Minnesing also piggybacked onto Aunt Mills for their food drive. I just have not arranged to take the food up to the Elmville Food Bank. And we also had some money donations. So once I have all the collective pounds and total, I will bring that to the next meeting. But we did copy them and they were okay with that. So all is good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 10, notice of motion. Deputy Mayor Coughlin is first notice of motion. 10.1, I will turn it over to you. We need a seconder, please, for that, for this motion. I'll second it. Okay, it's got to be somebody else. Is there a seconder for the motion, 10.1? Okay, we don't have a seconder, Councillor Deputy Mayor Coughlin. Moving on to 10.2 is a motion by Councillor Cabral and Clerk Ainsworth. Is this a motion that still is going forward, or has it been withdrawn?
I believe that Councillor Cabral has withdrawn his motion.
Councillor
That's
Cabral?
correct. Yes, that's correct, Mayor Allen. I'm withdrawing that motion. Thank you.
Thank you.
But can I speak to that, Mayor?
Yes, Councillor Hanna?
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to thank Councillor Cabell and the staff for making this happen. Councillor Cabell's done an excellent job and a lot of research to get all the information for the rest of council. So thank you very much, and thank you, staff, for assisting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 10.3 is a notice of motion by Councillor Moore. Councillor Moore?
Yeah.
We need to have a seconder, and it looks like Deputy Mayor Coughlin is seconding it, so go ahead, Councillor Moore.
Thank you. So I'm just going to read what I've prepared. As I know you are all acutely aware of the devastating effects of COVID-19 and what has happened in our long-term care facilities to their residents and staff who have experiencing a very challenging and difficult time. In Springwater Township, we are fortunate to have Sarah Vista Long-Term Care Home located in Elmville. They are a privately owned 60-bed facility. It's a home to many local residents and staff alike. As you can also appreciate, the cost of basic personal protective equipment has become quite exorbitant, and the need to use this equipment more often has increased substantially. At this time, Sarah Vista has not experienced an outbreak of COVID-19, and they continue to work tirelessly to not allow this to happen. The motion put forward this evening is to make a donation of $2,000 to Sarah Vista directly. I realize that this facility is owned by a larger corporation, Riviera, and I've discussed with the Director of Care, Karen, how we could donate to Sarah Vista and ensure that the funds remain in their local budget to be used for PPE, possibly additional staffing hours or additional meals for staff that stay over, or just whatever she feels is necessary at the time. So we are working, I'm working with Director Schmidt on a best approach for this, so we will discuss that further. I trust that Karen and her staff will be thoughtful in how they use our funds, and I ask the rest of council to please support this very important motion and recognize the hard work that their staff is doing right now. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe there was some communication with respect to where these $2,000 would come from. CAO Schmidt, can you confirm that, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I believe the motion currently in front of members of council indicate that the funds will be provided from the proceeds from the Springwater Swing Golf Tournament. However, subsequent to the publishing of the agenda, our Director of Finance has indicated where funds could possibly come from and not from the Springwater Swing. And I believe the funding source identified is the Tax Rate Stabilization Reserve.
Okay, any questions or comments with respect to this?
I'd like to comment, Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Hannah. I also just clarify once again that Councillor Ritchie has declared a pecuniary interest with respect to this, so he has pulled back from the table. Councillor Hannah?
Thank you. I totally support it. But in addition to this funds, I've heard so much on the news I might be wrong, but I understand that the county has put money out to try to help facilities like this, and I'm just wondering if there's any additional funds that can be, if I'm correct, if any additional funds that can be slotted for Cerro Vista in addition to this.
I'm not aware of specific funds that the county has put out. I mean, but when we ask about the other item that we're going to be asking the county, we could see whether they have any extra funds with respect to that. I know they've been spending a lot of funds with respect to homeless residences on a temporary basis with people, so we will ask.
Thank you. I just.
Go ahead,
I'm sorry.
Councillor Hannah, I'll finish.
Thank you, Mayor. No, I was just going to say, that was my understanding from what I heard, but I might have misunderstood some of it. But if you could follow up, please, and see if we can get some additional funds, I think we'd all appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Just to give you an example of what I mean by exorbitant costs. If, for example, a box of surgical masks, a box of 50 surgical masks would go for $50, now they're going for 4 times that. And so, and with the more use, because they have to wear them all the time, they're not lasting very long. So certainly all the funds that we could gather up would be more than appreciated.
Thank you. Okay, so we will vote on this. The motion is that the council hereby authorize a donation to Cerro Vista long-term care home in the amount of $2,000 with funds to be provided from the Springwater Swing. From the tax rate stabilization reserve fund. All those in favor? Councillor Hannah?
Yes.
Councillor Moore, obviously, yes.
Yes?
Councillor Cabral?
Yes.
Councillor Chapman?
Yes.
That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other notices of motion? Okay, we move on to items for future consideration. Any items for future consideration? Councillor Cabral?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Actually, I think some time ago we might have actually broached this subject, but I think it's appropriate now. I don't know if anybody's been out and about to some of the stores where normally you'd be able to purchase some seeds to plant a garden, but they're very, very hard to come by at the retail outlets. And I have been approached asking whether or not Township might be in a position to provide a plot somewhere for a community garden for those residents that might like to grow some of their own vegetables. And I was wondering if that's something that that staff might be able to look at. It would obviously have to be a plot that would be a fair size. I don't know roughly how big, maybe couple of 100 feet by a couple of 100 feet, or 100 feet by 100 feet, somewhere along those lines. But also would have to be relatively arable land that, you know, people could till and could actually grow some in it. We're already into the middle of April, so if it would be at all possible that this is something that might be accomplished, and certainly staff can come back with some form of a report, whether or not we could do it, if at all possible, with May just around the corner. It'd be nice to be able to do this, especially given these times where a lot of folks, I think, would be keen to maybe growing some of their own produce. So just a thought there, and I'm hoping it might be something that the rest of staff and council might want to consider.
CAO
Comment? Ray?
CAO Schmidt, any initial thoughts on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Cabral and members of council. So definitely something that staff can take a look at. I know, well, timing-wise, I know we've had some preliminary discussions about the potential new facility if and when it comes about on Snow Valley, but that's obviously future discussion. We can take a look at trying to set aside some property. I will note, though, that community gardens at this point in time are actually not allowed, just due to the current situation and the potential for transfer. So we do have to be just mindful of that, that's all. But it is something that definitely we could try to take a look at. The timing of it obviously is dependent on the current situation, I think. So, I can definitely, we can put it down and we can research it more and report back, and at such time that things open up, we may be in a position to move forward with something like that. So,
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
Thank you, Marilyn, and through you, I would like to second that for the IFC. But also, years ago, the Recreation Advisory Committee has done a lot of legwork on potential sites and different types of gardens, specifically the raised up in cattle troughs, essentially. And just as a suggestion, I think that if there's space at the new Elmville Food Bank location, I think that it would work well with the seniors' accommodation across the road and such. But definitely something that I think as we move through this, I think it would be a great initiative for our township.
Okay, so the item for future consideration is that staff investigate the potential of allowing a portion of its township's lands to be used by residents as a community garden and report back to council. All those in favor? Councillor Hanna?
Yes, and I'd like to comment after if I could, please.
Like to call what?
Comment.
Oh, yes. Go ahead.
I just wanted to point out that they have these public gardens on 10 Highway, just south of, well, north of Square One. It's the Ontario Hydro's main corridor for the major power line that runs through there. And for years, people have had zoned off areas with their name on it and have grown their own vegetables in there. I know Ontario Hydro at one time was a little restrictive, but I think they've been a little more reasonable lately. And I'm just suggesting that may be a plot of land that we might be able to offer as well.
Okay, thank you. Continuing the vote, Councillor Moore?
Yes.
Councillor Cabral?
Yes.
Councillor Chapman?
Yes.
That is carried. Okay, next we have the confirmatory bylaw. Can I have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Ritchie, Deputy Mayor Coughlin, that the bylaw 220-029 to confirm and adopt the proceedings of council at the regular meeting held on April 15, 2020, listed herein, be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. All those in favor? Carried. Councillor Chapman? Councillor Cabral?
No. Yes, sorry.
Yes.
We will have to get those cards for you. Councillor Cabral?
Yes.
Councillor Moore?
Yes.
Councillor Hanna?
Yes.
Okay, mover and seconder to adjourn. Councillor Ritchie, Deputy Mayor Coughlin, that the meeting of the Township of Springwater does now adjourn at 7:10 p.m. All those in favor? Carried. Councillor Chapman?
Yes.
Councillor Cabral?
Yes.
Councillor Moore?
Yes.
Councillor Hanna?
Yes.
Thank you. Stay well, and thank you for tuning in.